Hi, everyone. This is Kari, and tonight Colleen demonstrated assembling this project recipe, Hit the Road. And I'm going to go ahead and take us through doing this digitally. There's a couple of things that you can do to make it a little bit easier and have it come together a little bit faster. So this is the project recipe, and I hope I'm sharing the correct screen. If somebody there can nod their head saying, yes, I am. Okay, good. So this is not 100% symmetrical on the two pages, but there's enough of it that is the same on both pages, right and left, that you can do quite a bit. So we've got this triangle border that goes across the top, and this is actually assembled by taking a rectangle and cutting it in half on the diagonal if you were doing it in paper. But because we have the dimensions of the rectangle, we can actually just do it by creating a right triangle in Artisan and have it be the right dimensions. So that's pretty easy. There's also two little triangles. They're kind of hidden on the right page in the left corner behind the photo and in the right corner behind the photo. There's also two punched border strips, and I know it's a little bit hard to tell from the image here, but they layered them on top of each other to give it a little bit of dimension. So depending on what you're going to do, if you're going to punch a border strip or if you're going to use some embellishment or a ribbon across the page, you have a lot of options with that digitally. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to show you the cutting guide. So this is what's going to help with creating those right triangles. So there is a set of them. There were 12 rectangles cut in half. So that means there's 24 triangles, and they are 4 inches tall by 1.5 inches on the base, and that we can just use those dimensions in Artisan. And then there were 2 squares that were cut in half on the diagonal, and those are 2 by 2. Again, it's a right triangle with dimensions of 2 by 2. So I'm going to zoom back out so you can see the rest of the cutting guide. If you don't have this cutting guide or this project recipe, you can always grab it from our Facebook group, Consistently Creative Croppers, and download it. And if you can't access that on Facebook, feel free to comment on the recordings or send us an email, and we'd be happy to send that out to you. So the other thing that Creative Memories provides is the advisor guide, and this is the advisor guide for this Hit the Road. They recommend using 2 sheets of white cardstock as the base, and they are cutting 3 pieces of paper, and they have a couple of suggested paper pairings that they recommend using this Hit the Road paper, and they have 1 border punch that they use. So depending on what you're doing digitally, you can choose how you're going to do that. So the page that I ended up making this evening is this one, and I stayed pretty true to the original design, and I did use this snowflake. I did cut it out of a piece of paper. I did layer 2 of them, and I put them on both pages, but I do have these triangles. So I will go ahead. I'm going to go to a single page so I can assemble those triangles and get to a blank page. I'm going to put that on my other screen so I can see the dimensions again. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to want a right triangle. And so I'm going to go ahead to insert content shape from an art kit. And if you go to our built-in kits, we do have a right triangle that comes with Artisan. And I must have scrolled right past it. There we go. So I can insert that. And so the first one is going to be 4 by 1.5. And because all of our triangles, we want the long edge at the top of the page. So I'm going to just rotate this one. And I'm also going to flatten this one because I really would like the green circle here to be up at the top. So when I'm filling things, I know that it's at the top, just in case I'm filling something with some kind of writing. So now I'm going to take this one and I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it. And now this one, I really want the mirror image. So it'll be like this again. You don't really need to flatten it because we're not inserting a photo or anything into it. So that should be good. Now, when we're aligning these, it's going to be really hard to tell the difference between the two different triangles. So I'm just going to make the top one a lighter shade of blue. So that way I can tell the difference. So if I select both of them and I align them using the quick access toolbar, the second and the fourth, now they're actually going to be aligned perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group these so I kind of keep them together. And I am going to use the alignment numbers in the quick access toolbar to help me. So I'm going to align this at 0 and 0. And now I'm going to copy and then paste. And this one, I want it at 4 and 0. And I'm going to paste another set. And this one I want at 8 and 0. So that makes it pretty easy to make that border really fast. So now that I've got the whole thing, I'm going to group the entire set and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it. And if I want it to be down here on the bottom of the page, it should end up being with the X at 0 and the Y at 10.5. And then we've got that and it's all aligned. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ungroup all of those by going to Arrange, Ungroup. But you can also just ungroup it using the right mouse key by grouping Ungroup. So that should make it pretty straightforward to have done that part of it. So depending on whether you're doing the right or the left page kind of determines what you're going to do next. So I'm going to let this finish saving. So with this one, I am going to go ahead and continue on this one just a little bit more before duplicating it for the next page. So I'm going to insert a rectangle and I'll pull down the instructions so you can see this. The left page had a 9x9 rectangle or square on it, and then it had 4 4x4 photos on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So this one is 9x9. I'm going to fill it with a different color. And this is going to end up being centered on the page. So I'm just going to go back to Home, Align, and Center on Page. And then I'm going to end up with 4 photo frames. So I'm going to insert photos, empty frame. And there are 4 of those. So I can copy and paste. I'm going to use Control C and then Control V. Oh, copy. And now I've got 4. And so depending on how much space you want these to have, I initially did it kind of eyeballing it, just trying to get the space kind of equal between these 4. So this horizontal space gap between the top row and the bottom row. And then I use the alignment tools just to kind of help that out. So if you select the 2 of them, align the top, the 2 bottom ones align the top, and then you can always align the rights of the other ones. And at the end, I do a quick grouping and then get it centered on the black background with the 2nd and the 5th. And now I can ungroup. So other than the fact that I still have this border that I might want to put in, I am pretty much done here with this page. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's one more piece. There's one more piece tucked between it. There is a 5 by 12 inch piece. And it was 5 by 12 when we cut it, but it's going to be 12 by 5 when we insert it. And I'm going to put it in another color. And I want it centered on the page. It's behind everything. And now I'm going to bring it to the back. It's all the way behind. So now you can see that I've pretty much, other than the border punch, I've pretty much got the left page done and assembled. You can see it right there. So now I can do the right page, but I'm gonna kind of make it easy on myself, and I'm just going to duplicate it. I don't need to do a mirror image of this one, but this will make it just a little bit faster. So there we go. So now what I have is I don't need this gray part, but I am going to want one of these, and this I need it to be 4 by 6. And I want my photo to be 3.5 by 5.5. And I can get rid of these. And now I just want to go ahead and get those aligned. And I'm going to group them, and then I'm going to copy. And now I've got 2 of them. I'll get them all fixed up here in a moment. And then I'll ungroup it and I'll copy another one of the photos. So this photo, just the way Artisan is set up, it will land right in the middle of the page, which is really what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line all of these things up with the middle, which is this 5th one. And so now they're all there. So the way the layout was designed is that each of these were tucked really close up to the middle photo. So there was enough room to put those little tiny right triangles in the bottom right corner and in the top left corner. So because I don't really want to have to do a whole lot of extra work, I'm going to go ahead and just take this triangle and I'm going to copy and paste it, and then I'm going to change its size. So this one was a 2 by 2. And I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that. And I know I'm going to need one of those down here. So I'll go ahead and rotate that. And that up there. So I'm going to go ahead and flatten the one that's down here. And now I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste it. And I will make it the other color. And paste this one, and I'm going to make that one the other color. And depending on what you're doing, you may, which color you're aligning and which one you're putting on the top, you may decide that you want the dark one on the top versus the light one. And it may just depend on what you're going to be doing. So you can see that as I do this, there is not a whole lot of space left over. So this actually gets in there really tight. So getting it in there is a little bit of a challenge, but it's okay. So there we go. So that is pretty much the right page. You can see here. So the only thing I haven't done is cutting out some type of embellishment here. So there's a lot of different possibilities that you can do for this. So one thing that if you're using an art kit that has a ribbon or a string of something that you want to use, you can use all sorts of shape embellishments. If you want to kind of create your own, you can actually go in and create a rectangle. I'm going to do this just kind of as a 12 by maybe 2. And if you go to the cut ribbon and go to cutters straight, there's this shaped edge here, and it says you have to flatten it. That's okay. And when you do this, you have the opportunity to use any shape that you have. So in the built-in kits, you could use any of these edges, but you can also use any of these shapes. And what the software will do is it'll take that shape and just repeat it across, which is really a nice thing to be able to have something different than what you already have. And there's Creative Memories, even back in the day, had a lot of different digital edges that they could use, which was kind of fun. And there's more and more digital edges that you can use. So one of the one that I was using was, I believe it was a Pixels to Pages one. And I was looking for some snowflakes. Maybe it wasn't. Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, it went back to edges. That's why it wasn't showing anything. So Pixels to Pages has done a lot of shapes, and actually you can kind of see here, there's 2080. So I'm going to get out of that. It was Shape Magic 9. And in this one, there was a lot of different snowflakes, which I thought was really kind of neat. There's also a couple here that have a bunch of different kinds of trees. So you can end up with something that has a number of different kinds of trees if you don't want something that's completely symmetrical. So whatever you're going to use, you can grab it from any shape that you have or use it from one of the basic shapes. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to grab, let's try this one. Select the shape. And you can see here that we have a number of different ones here. So here we go.
Okay, talk to you later. Thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
And so you can cut it, you can change the aspect ratio, you could change the spacing. I'm going to go ahead and leave it like this and keep the unshaded area. If you're not sure which one to keep, just keep both. And I'm going to cut. And you can see when I cut that, and this happens depending on where you place it, you can place it right on the edge. You might end up with a time that you're going to have to do a second cut. So I wanted you to be able to see that even if you cut something and it doesn't end up perfect, you can always go back in and cut it another time. So I'm going to use this straight edge cutter. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to cut off that little bottom part. This time I want to keep the shaded and cut. And so now I've got this nice set of snowflakes. So what I had done was I filled this with some kind of paper, and you can always do that. So if you fill it with one of these papers, it'll give it a little bit more of a dimensional look. So that's a way to get one of these shapes that maybe you don't actually have some kind of ribbon or something that will actually coordinate with what you're doing, but this way you can custom design your own thing. So let me go back out and show the 2 pages. Just I hope. It's not going. See if I can get to the other page. Sometimes when I'm going back and forth between single page and double page on Zoom, it doesn't like it. But this, yeah, it's not going to go there. So this is what the layout ends up looking like. And now it's going to take a while to show it. There we go. So I have the triangles across the top. I have this background behind my pictures. I have a 9x9 square with some 4 photos. I have my shape that I can duplicate if you want to end up having 2 of them here. I do. Some more triangles. And then on the other page, you can see the little squares or the little right triangles peeking out behind here. So I hope that gives you an idea of how to assemble this page digitally. I think it goes together fairly quickly and fairly easily, but hopefully some of the tips I showed with these right triangles and aligning them and just grouping them and copying and pasting them will make it fast and easy for you. And if you have any questions or any comments, we'd love to hear them. So drop them in the comments on YouTube, or we'd love to see a layout that you create. So you can do that on Consistently Creative Croppers Facebook group. Thanks so much for watching.
Thanks, Kari.
Very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.